Hi, thanks for listening to the Monthly Social here on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. All right, hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Take care. Thank you, and welcome to Lili Wexu, actor and voiceover actor, having appeared in fan favorites like Grey's Anatomy and Alien vs. Predator, announced for the Winter Olympic Games, and had her voice on Assassin's Creed video game. And now is focusing on commercials and narration. She's also an author and a voice acting coach. She helps voice actors find their niche and dominate it. We're going to find out more about her talent and some hacks for performing voiceover scripts, skills, tools, success factors, and tons more. Welcome to the show, Lili. Thank you for being here. And how are you?
Good. Thank you. What a great intro. Thank you so much. Thanks for having
Did
me.
I did I pass? Did I pass the intro?
You totally passed. You totally passed with
I
flying colors.
I'm nervous. I've talked to so many people over the last 4 years, but I'm talking to somebody who does this professionally in you. So I'm a little nervous. I got the mic here, but I don't know. You'll have to grade me at the end and see if I kept up, okay?
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Now, Lili, listen, you're out of LA, right?
Yeah.
How
hmm
are
Yeah.
things? Is it still called, can I say La La Land? Is it still referenced that way?
Yeah, definitely. It's
It is?
definitely La La Land. It's always going to be La La Land, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment it's cloudy. Like it's been cloudy. Like all the commercials, they're just not this year. It's not it's not true this year. It's just been cold. The winter's been cold and it's been gray. And it's just a very odd year. Usually by this time it's like really, really hot. And we did have a hot day a couple days ago, but I don't know. It's just weird. Yeah. So it's
Wow.
cloudy and gray. Perfect day to be in the studio.
Yeah, perfect. And here it's cloudy and gray too, but it's from all the fires and the smoke out east and out west,
Yeah.
and the winds are pushing everything on. And I know you and I before we were talking a little bit about that. So yeah, LA, gray. I don't hear that very often, right? So
I don't say that very often.
so is Los Angeles the place to be for voiceover actors?
I think if you want to pursue video games like AAA video games and studio animation, it's certainly like a hub, a very big hub, because that's where these productions kind of take place. But there are also lots of productions taking place in Texas and in Canada. Toronto and Vancouver are great places to be. And so is Montreal, actually. Ubisoft is there. So for video games and animation, that's where you want to be. If you want to do any other type of voice work, like audiobooks, commercials, narrations, live events, you can literally be anywhere. And if you want to do live events, like be an MC, then being in a big city or close to a big city would be good because you'll get more local events there. But yeah, you can just be anywhere pretty much.
So remote works, but they like to
Yeah.
see you sometimes. Yeah.
It's all remote, and it used to be that you even if it even if you could be a voice actor in major markets like, Chicago, New York, LA, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, you had to go to studios, like even for regular voice work, which I'll put commercials in and everything else. But now you literally, since the pandemic, the whole industry was like, get your equipment, stay home. And I've had my equipment for 25 years, but like everybody that didn't got their equipment. So now it's all remote, like I said, except for video games and animation, where they'll like to have the actors on set or in studio.
Right. Yeah, I think it's great that we can that shift has happened, and I think we should do more of it. There's so many other benefits to it. I have to ask though, on your website, liliwexuvoiceovers.com, you also advertise that you do voiceovers in French Canadian. And are you Canadian? And are you spying? Are you our plant in the United States, or what's going on there?
Yes, I'm a spy for yeah, I'm checking up on you Canadians there. No, I am. I'm from Montreal. I'm French Canadian. I I moved to the US when I was a kid, like 3 years old. So and then we lived in the US for a few years. So I guess I learned to speak both languages kind of at the
Wow.
same time while I was in the US. But then I moved back to Canada and lived in French, up until my early adulthood. So yeah, I'm a total frog, as they say, whatever that pepper,
That's okay.
all
That's
the
what,
words that
listen,
they say.
that's awesome. Hey, are you
All
are
those
you
things.
walking are you walking the streets of Los Angeles wearing your Montreal Canadiens jersey then, or?
I'm not, but now you're giving me some ideas. I do
Yeah.
have I do have a friend who's also from Montreal who loves the Habs, as you do and I do. And he totally yeah, walks around with his jersey, and it puts his kids in jerseys. They don't have no opinion. They don't know what's happening to them. Yeah, no, it happens. It does happen. Yeah.
So,
See.
hey, that's awesome. This is going to be great that you're a fellow Habs fan. Anybody who's not, please do not stop listening to the show. We still love you. We still love you. Um,
Forgive us, forgive us.
Forgive us. Yeah. Listen, so I kind of dove right into the whole voiceover acting and what you're doing and where you're at. There may be some folks who are not familiar with this. So what exactly is a voiceover actor? What do they do, Lily?
Yeah, so a voice actor is an actor. Like an actor works in front of the camera or on stage, and a voice actor does the same thing but behind the microphone. So it's exactly the same job. It's just behind the microphone, and you'll mostly hear them recording video games, animation, commercials, anything where you just only hear voice. That's what they do.
Do you ever do a voice for another person? Like not outside of animation. Is that also included in that?
Like, what do you mean? Like a sound alike? Like, what do you mean?
Like could I be the actor and you would do the voice for me?
No. So it would be in animation or video games, like something
Animation.
like a cartoon or something, like something animated,
Okay.
where you would be the voice of a character, or yeah, usually you just be the
Got it.
voice for a character,
Yeah, yeah.
or if you're listening to an audiobook, like the narrator, that's a voice actor. When you hear commercials on the radio,
Right.
that's a voice
Voice
actor.
actor.
So anywhere where you just only hear voice, but yes, you're right. You can see a person, but usually it'll be like
Right.
animated, not a
Right,
real
right.
life person. Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, that would
uh,
be kind of interesting to do.
yeah,
Like a different
well,
person.
I
Yeah.
mean, not to, I might have said this somewhere else, not to pick on Milli Vanilli or anything, like the whole lip syncing thing. You see one
Right.
person or
Exactly.
another. So, you know, how did you decide to become a voiceover actor?
It's funny because, sorry, I'm just going back to this thing. Actually, for film dubbing, which I have done a little bit of. You are voicing somebody else's,
Somebody else.
real life character, just in a different voice, right? So
Right.
actually, yes, you're right. So that was a good question. Sorry, I that totally slipped my mind. Bad,
No,
bad
that's
voice
okay. And
actor.
then until you said dubbing, then I'm thinking, oh yeah, maybe that's what that's where we're going
Yeah,
with the
that's
film.
probably what made you think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
what
how
was
did you get
your
into
next question?
how did you get into
Oh,
this?
well, I always had a strong connection to my voice since I was a kid. Like, I really thought, like, this sound weird, but like, I thought it was kind of special or something, and like somebody should pay attention, probably because I had a lower voice than everybody else. But um, then that totally, kind of went away, and I really wanted to just be an actress, like on film and on stage, and it totally was an accident.
Oh,
It's a long story, but essentially, I befriended some radio DJs who had this campaign that they needed a voice for, and they thought I would be right for it. And so they said, come on at the station and, let's try it. And I was like, okay. And I'd been told before, like, you have a good voice, you should do radio. And I was like, yeah, but how do you do that? And so these guys, they got me in, and I voiced this campaign, and it was amazing. Like, it was amazing. I just put the headphones on, I heard my voice, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. What's interesting though is when I first heard it on the radio, I hated it.
oh
But
no.
anyway, yeah, the rest is history. Yeah, isn't that weird? Yeah, I was in a
Why did
grocery
you
store and I heard it. I don't know. It was like it was like a reaction that I had. Like, I was in a grocery store and I heard something and I was like, oh, what is that? And then it was me. I was like, oh boy, I got over it.
you got well, yeah, you must have because you got a lot of years experience in this. Now, did you end up going to school at some point, training, like for formal education on it of any kind or?
Well, so voice acting is interesting because basically you have to train to be an actor. That's the training. That's what you do. And so you can do that at a traditional school, art school, whatever. So I studied at a theater, it was called like theater and communications school. You can also study just at like a acting centric school. They only teach acting or with a coach as well. So yeah, that's what I did. And then I coached in voice over for voiceover acting. I coached in that for forever. I coach
Right.
on and off. It's something when you do this job, um, it's just something that you have to kind of keep up on your instrument, and then you get really, really busy and you work a lot. And then you're like, yay, this is great. And then if things slow down, then you're like, oh, what's happening? And you might need to go coach again. So it's not uncommon for voice actors to kind of coach on and off.
Yeah, you know what I heard, I've spoken with guitarists who are in bands, and they'll go through cycles. They're doing their album, they're doing the tour, the things come down, and then they're like, you know what? It's a little bit slow. I'm gonna teach others. I'm teaching guitar and giving guitar
Yeah.
lessons. And then it kind
Yeah.
of picks up and you kind of do that thing again.
Yeah,
Now,
but I'm not just saying like for me as a coach, I'm saying also like I would hire coaches, like throughout my
oh,
career to learn my craft
to
because
learn
I
yourself.
learned acting. Yeah, because I learned acting, but then like, and I was working in voice as a voice actress,
Got
but
it.
you want to improve and you're not booking all the kinds of work that you want to book. And so you get coaching, like a voice over coach, a voice over
Right.
actor coach. And then yes, now I coach as well. But yeah, so it's something that you get the acting training, but then the specialty of voiceover acting, at colleges, and some colleges they're starting to give like an introduction to voiceover, but it's not yet like mainstream like that. So you usually study privately with people.
Yeah, and so when you do the coaches thing, do you get different coaches so that you get a different perspective or a different angle? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to do this as a job, you usually, yeah, you would, get a coach, get good at it, and then eventually maybe you'll change coaches to get a different perspective, like you said. Like maybe you want to work with someone who's done the job themselves. Maybe you want to work with someone who's a casting director. Maybe you want to work with someone who's a producer, right? So all these different types of perspectives on the job. Yeah. Hmm.
Now, Lily, usually like in every profession, and we've gone down the profession path here, there's some sort of, foundation or structure, pillars, principles. We have many names for them, right? What would you say the principles are or the pillars are when it comes to voiceover acting?
Well, the foundation is definitely acting. Like, it has the word acting in it, voice actor. So
Yeah.
that's the foundation. And the three pillars really to be in business as a voice actor, they're really the performance part. And then there's the technical part, like handling audio and the gear. And then there's the entrepreneurial part, which is like to market yourself. But you can have all the audio technical know-how and be a great entrepreneurial type of person. If you don't have the foundation of acting, it's going to be limited. Your return on your investment, is just going to be limited. So acting is the foundation 100%.
That
Or
makes sense.
improv. It could also be
Yeah.
improv, you know, anything that's performance oriented. You want to be a performer, so acting or improv.
Yeah, and I think it's important. The point you're making is, there's a reason we have the craft and there's a path that we take to the craft. It's very rare that you just wake up and you say, I am this, and then that's what you are. There's
Yeah.
this process that you kind of have to go through along the way. I keep saying voiceover acting, and it's a very long term voiceover acting. So maybe from here on in, I'm just gonna say VO. Is that an acceptable thing if I say
Yeah.
VO? Okay, so for
Yeah.
everybody,
Perfect.
I am not introducing something new. I'm just gonna go VO just to shorten it up a little bit. Um, how do you decide which opportunities to apply for? Like, what kind of analysis, let's say, would you do on a VO script?
Well, that gets into a little bit of the nitty gritty, but one of the first things I do is I see if I'm right for it. Now, when you have a lot of experience, it's easier to determine if you're right for something or if you're not right for something, right? So I have a sort of a lower voice, and so that gives me a lot of authority and gravitas. And so there's going to be scripts that require that, right? So right away, one of the first things I do is, is this script, is it going to benefit? Is it going to benefit from my type of voice, right? So if I see a script that requires like a bubbly mom or girl next door, like that's not me. I don't book that kind of work, right? So that's like the first like kind of critical analysis that I look at on a script is like, do I serve this script, right? Now, when you start out, you don't necessarily know that, but with experience, you do. And then the other thing is for script analysis, there are many, many components, and I've prepared a little cheat sheet for your audience. So we'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
Um,
Right on.
uh, but basically, script analysis, there are many features in a script, but for instance, one of them I look for is a twists and turns. So, like in a script, there'll often be a problem and then they'll come in with a solution, especially if we're talking about commercials. So,
Yes.
you want to make sure that you're addressing that with your performance, so you want to talk about the problem in a more negative way and you want to talk about the solution in a more positive way. So there's many other features like that. And I'm creating a program, like a script analysis program, dedicated to that, because it goes quite deep. You can do a script contains a lot of data that you can kind of use to better your performance, to enhance your
Yeah.
performance, I should say.
That's amazing, especially when you're talking about, short scripts like commercials, that you would have that intuition. But I get the sense too that, you're applying your own self-awareness. You kind of know who you are, or you got to the point where you know who you are. And that seems to be a critical part of it.
That's just with experience. When you
Yeah.
start, you're like throwing spaghetti on the wall. You know what I mean? You're just like trying everything, and you have to do that. But over the years, people keep hiring you for the same thing over and over. So you start to get clues like, oh, like I'm popular or marketable, in this area. Right. And then I'm not popular in that area. Like I've tried a million times for this type of job and I never get it. Like, what does that mean? Right. So maybe you need coaching, or maybe it's not a match, right? Like energetically, you're not that thing. So yeah, you get to know these things with experience, but at the beginning, you just have to try it all. That's just it's like a rite of passage. You just have to go through that process.
Do you approach the audition differently than the actual production, Lily?
Yeah, you do. You do
Really?
because,
Huh.
yeah, because in the audition, you have to stand out. You're competing against other people. So you kind of have to bring a little bit more to it. And in the production, you're not competing against anyone else. And now you have visual elements, music, timing factors. You have all these things that tend to kind of like make what you're doing like more constricted. Like it's just reducing what you're able to bring to the work. But in the audition, you have a little bit more freedom. Like, you don't have the visuals. You don't always know how long, the spot is. I mean, usually you can tell, but you have more flexibility and you want to be able to stand out by showing your abilities. So yeah, you do a bit more in auditions than you would for the job.
Okay, weird follow-up question. Um, we're talking about voices, but when you go to an audition, how important is physical appearance when you're doing voiceover acting? Does that factor in?
Like zero, like zero. Yeah,
None.
it does not factor in. In fact, like we said, like you're doing most of your auditions at home. Nobody sees you. Like voice is
It's
one of
just
those
voice.
careers.
Yeah.
It's literally just voice. And the voice is amazing. Like it just does not age the same way like a person ages.
Yeah.
So it's just you like one of my coaches, she's in her 70s. She can still sound like a child. Like she's an animation actress who's voiced young kids, young boys' voices. Like as a career, she was Dennis the Menace. She's done a bunch of stuff. So, she can still sound like a child and she's in her 70s. Right. So the voice is just amazing. Like it can just carry you through. So yes, appearance
Yeah.
is not a factor in any way.
And so I guess as you're saying that, I'm going, well, they don't even need to see you on camera. They just want to hear your voice. So you could be doing it in your pajamas. It doesn't matter.
I've done many a gig in my pajamas.
Right on, right on. Look, so when I was younger, the way you'd augment your learning sometimes, there was Cole's notes, right? So you read Romeo and
Mhm.
Juliet, and then you get the Cole's notes to kind of help you out with some of the theories, or the did I miss something. Nowadays I think we call them hacks, right? Everybody's got a hack for something. Are there any
Mhm.
hacks that you could cover for performing VO scripts?
Yeah, so I've that's another little thing that's on a cheat sheet for your audience that they can get at
Right
the
on.
end. So there are a few, and we're not going to, I'm just going to pick one for you so that it's
Yeah, sure.
easy to remember. But like the biggest one, and it's really interesting. Um, Students have a really hard time with this, but it's one of the most valuable ones. It's pauses, making pauses. For some reason, when people read scripts, they just kind of steamroll through. But if you can make strategic pauses in certain areas, you're just drawing people in, right? It's like, oh, what's happening? And so you really get people to lean in. And it can really help to emphasize a certain section of the script and let it breathe. And it's also good just to even just to breathe, you know. So, but pauses, strategic pauses are one of my favorite hacks. And it's so funny. It is a hack that people have trouble with, but it is worthwhile mastering because a strategic pause, it's like magic. It just brings the script to life. It's amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
I love it, and you made me think. I think I gave some of this advice to my kids when they were doing their oral presentations at school, and I said to them, when you deliver this line, but I didn't know I was doing this. Now you kind of connected the dots for me, but I said to them, when you deliver this line, wait a moment, let the audience digest it, right? And the comparison that I gave is that when you look at a painting that an artist paints, you don't have to paint every piece of white space on your canvas, because sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can use the white space to tell part of the story. And I think that's what you're
Yeah.
saying when you say employ the pause, wait,
Yeah. But
absorb, right?
and yeah, and what you're saying, it does let people understand what's going on. And it's a kind of a reaction that people they just want to get through the script, like I want to get through it, but it's like, I did, and also like in the sense of script analysis, when you have a problem, let's say in a solution, if you're not pausing, I may not get that this was a problem now and that I'm moving towards a solution, right? Like I need a break here to get what's to orient myself, right? So it's very useful. I love that you gave that advice to your kid because it's incredibly useful in everyday life too.
Yeah, I
You
think
want
it
to make a
is.
point, just take a beat, then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, whoa, what's going on?
Create suspense.
Yes, exactly.
Could you give us some advice in terms of what I should master as a voiceover actor? Let's say, what would be, and you pick either one or a couple of skills that I could master, or should master.
Well, we were talking about, you know, uh, performance and being an audio technician and entrepreneur. I really think, developing your skills as an actor, you're just going to win. You're just going to win if you do that. Um, and then becoming a really resourceful and savvy audio technician. So learning audio software, how that works, it's just so important because people need to hear your performance, right? It needs to be packaged like they need to hear it. So you really need to master that skill. And you don't need to become like an audio engineer, but you need to work your equipment quickly and easily so that when clients call in and direct you, you can work the rig. And then becoming an entrepreneur slash um I would say like a driven entrepreneur slash shameless marketer. Because you have to then, now that your voice is like packaged and it's in a container, we need to market it. And that's how you get paid. So those are three things that you really need to master. You do not need to master them all at once. Work on being an actor first, then take tutorials, practice with the recording, and then learn about marketing. But the marketing part is not as hard as people think. Like if you likes on whatever platform you're on,
Yeah.
like you like marketing, like, and you know what, you know about marketing, you know which posts work better than others. So we already have that now in our everyday lives. Like everybody's kind of like their own little marketer. So you kind of have to do the same thing for your business. That's how you get it out there. So
Let me, Lily, let me ask a little bit about the technology piece. And I feel a little self-conscious asking this question,
mhm.
especially with a microphone right in front of me, and I use it multiple times a week for recording my shows. But look, I'm ready to take the plunge here. Let's see if you can help me out too. Are there any microphone skills that you would say are essential to voiceover acting, and could I apply them to my craft?
Definitely. So there's two techniques that are kind of most used. One of them is just playing with projection. Projection is how loud we're speaking or how low we're speaking, right? So one technique is to just get more intimate, like speaking a little bit lower. And so you kind of like lean into the microphone. And that, like the pause,
Mm.
draws listeners' attention in. So that's something that you could use, because you could, if you wanted to ask a personal question, or if you thought a question might make someone uncomfortable, you could say, okay, I'm going to ask you a question now, and so it kind of sets the stage, that drama that you're talking about, the build that
Yeah.
you're, the
Yeah.
suspense that you're talking about before. The intimate kind of read, like, does that, right? So I call it the lean in. So like leaning in, that kind
Yeah.
of does that. Another one, which would not be good for you, uh, because podcasting, like, you kind of want to be in front of the mic, but is going off mic, right? So it's like, honey, do you have the keys? Like, you know where I put the keys? Like, I can't find it. So you're kind of like looking away,
Yeah.
right? So that you use that to enhance the situation that you're in the script, right? So people in video games and animation, they'll use those techniques a lot, because you're not always in real life talking straight to a person, like when they're looking at you, right? We talk to people, we're like this the whole time, we don't wait for people to be there, we're talking to them. So I should say that all of the techniques that I teach, and that are that clients like, they're
Yeah.
all based on actual speech, like what we do in real life. So that's why. But for podcasting, people want to hear you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going
No,
off is not really great. But the lean in, I would definitely use. Yeah,
you
that would be a good
you
one for
had
you.
me like you had me on the lean in. Like I was like, There's something you're gonna tell me something else." Like what you're
Yeah,
good.
right.
Wow, it was really good. No, thank you. I'm gonna try that. I don't know. Maybe I might have done it. It's funny because when you say some of these things, I may have done a few of them, not knowing that I did them,
Oh yeah,
maybe organically, but I can see how if you raise your awareness of them, you could apply them more strategically, if you will, right? During the conversation.
that is, what you just said now is exactly, that's exactly what I coach. It's like, use what you do in everyday life, bring it to consciousness, and use it strategically. You just said it perfectly. I'm going to hire you. You're the perfect PR guy. You
I'm
just
in.
get it.
I'm coming to LA and I'm wearing my Habs jersey. Um Lily, what other tools are like, we've talked about, the technology and the technique. Are there other tools that you consider vital to the VO business?
um I think that whatever you're doing in life, before you did VO, could have some things that you could use, because VO is so big, right? There's a performance part, that there's a technical part, and there's a marketing part. So any other skills that you have could translate well to one of those aspects of VO. So, even things you learn in school, like other things that are not related, you'd be surprised how that could be funneled into what you're learning. And also contacts, like the people that you'd be surprised how just the people that they are such big supporters of you and will help you get along. Like if you want to do voiceover, like just tell everybody, because you don't know who knows somebody that could hire you. Like I have my story in one of my books, like, one of my childhood friends, like his mom was TV reality producer, a reality TV producer. So like, we ended up working with her, and he's hired me. He worked at several radio stations, and I was the voice of, I did imaging for those stations. So it's just like the people around you, you just don't know. So I would say, like, whatever you already have going on in your life, like that can really help you in your voice career.
Utilize the resources that you have. Sometimes and I think you're right. Sometimes we have resources and we don't know that we have the resources, or we don't
Yeah.
think of them as resources, if you will. But
Yeah.
put it out there, right? I mean, in some respect, we play numbers games in so many other parts of our lives, right? If you raise your
Mm-hmm.
self-confidence and you have that awareness, put it out there. Look,
Mm-hmm.
you've given us some really great advice in terms of our understanding of the VO world, if you will, and some of it at a real personal level. And someone with your experience seems to be able to convey to us. Are there any rules that you live by for finding success in the VO business?
Yeah, my biggest rule is, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but it's less is more. So, audition for the things that are right for me, make demos with scripts that are right for me, and find the right clients for me. So, in other words, just be right all the time. No, just joking. But it's just managing your energy so that you're not doing everything all the time. But like we said before, when you're starting out, you just don't know those things, which is why
Right.
working with a coach is so helpful, because it can fast track that process and help you eliminate things as you go along. Um, but yeah, so less is more. The less is more philosophy is really important. And I feel like that, like, for a lot of things in life, because everything is so fast paced and so crazy and so intense, and there's just more and more and more. We have to kind of, at some point, have the discipline to go, no, I don't need all that, and just stick to what it works and what is right for me. So yeah, less is more.
Lily, have you ever said no to a potential opportunity because you felt like
I say no a lot.
really?
I just said no today. Yeah. I just said no today. Yeah. Yeah. I say no a lot. Yeah. Because I know what it's just like any business, some things are right and some things are not right, you know? Um, yeah. I say no all the time.
So
Yeah.
you reached a point in your profession, in your talent, where you go, this is my brand and I'm going to protect my brand, and I'm saying no because if I do this, I don't it would do something to my brand that I don't want it to do, right? Like
I
you've
mean,
established a
there's
value
that.
there.
Yeah, there's that. And sometimes it's just like the budget is not there, it's just, it could be just
Oh,
not a
right.
match in that way. Sometimes it's that. Um, you do have to protect the brand. There are some things that I won't do because it would just tarnish everybody else that is using my voice. And sometimes
Right.
you have to say no because you're working with competing products. Like, I just had to say no last week, because I booked, a campaign for a wireless provider here in the US. And then this other wireless provider approached me, and they're like, "Can you do that?" And I was like, I can't do both. I literally just
Right.
can't do both. So, and that happens a lot because once you get to a certain level, you're working in a lot of sectors,
Right.
and then
No.
you get popular in that sector, and then you're like, I can't do all, I can't do it all. I just have to, yeah. So there's many reasons that you have to say no. Once you're busy at the beginning, you say yes a lot, of course.
Do you have
You got it.
a favorite voiceover work that you've done to date that you can talk about?
Um, I think the Olympics, maybe, because, like, it's such a unique experience, and the thrill of it and the prestige and it was just so crazy. Like, the whole thing's so crazy, but also what I love about it then and now is that it celebrates athletes who surpass themselves, and I really identify with that in my own life. And so I just have this, like, I don't know, it's just be a part of something. Like, I love the underdog. I just love that whole thing, and I got to be a part of it. And of course, I love video games. I love video games, but I can't do them a lot because I work so much in the corporate sector with commercials that I can't, you have to
Mm.
yell a lot. And I just can't not have my voice be,
Right.
something I can rely on every day. Like if you do a day of video games, the next day you might not be able to work. So in the type of work that I do most and that pays me the most. So I can't do video games a lot. I get requests and I'm like, I have to look at it and it's so, but I love it. I absolutely love it. If I had to do this all over again, that's what I would do, but
Wow.
I'm not gonna complain.
You're a gamer. No. That's awesome. No, that's awesome. All the gamers are gonna start following you now on social media.
Uh,
That's the voice. That's what we want. Look, you've mentioned books a couple of times. You've put together an ebook series called Get Clever About VO. There's a website where everyone can read about it called getcleveraboutvo.com. And you have a bundle of books available there. Can you give us some insights? Where does one start with the wealth of information? And do they need to read every book or are they targeted?
they only need to read one sentence in every book and then they're good to go. No. Um, I would definitely start with the first book because it gives you a lay of the land, and I think that that's really important to understand, like the whole industry and what is required of you as a voice actor. So, book one is a super important book. Book two is about the technical aspect, and if you already work, if you're a musician or a podcaster, or you may not need that. There are some things in there, conventions and formats that are popular in voiceover delivery files that are good, and it's a low cost, so it could be worth it for that, but it's not necessary if you're already proficient with the technical aspect of recording voice. um, and then the third book is really important if you want to market yourself and make money. So I would say the first one and the third one are definitely a yes, and the second one, it just depends on your level of proficiency.
So in
And they're
the
short reads, they're not long reads. They're easy, quick reads, but packed with information. So I feel like they're short to the point, and so they're not like a big thing. Like it's gonna take you 3 weeks to read them, right? You can actually read them in like one or two sittings. So
Now, if we're buying the books, do you also provide a service where like somebody can say, "Hey, Lily, can you also teach me, or can you do that as well to help with the books?"
yeah. So even if you just go on my website, Get Clever About VO, there's a place to inquire about coaching. Yeah, definitely.
So, and you joked around, you just got to read the first line out of every book. But I have a question. In the intro of Get Clever About Acting 1, 2, and 3, you say this. The Get Clever About ebook series was born out of a desire to help actors build, maintain, and expand their careers on screen and behind the microphone. In essence, the ebooks strive to provide actors with clear, practical, and logistical industry information. Here's the key, all right? Listen in. That is often times unspoken, difficult to acquire, or challenging to understand. And that caught me because I was like, why is logistical information often unspoken or difficult to acquire in the industry?
Well, like it's not straightforward to be a voice actor for reasons we mentioned. Like there's no actual like proper school. I mean, there are little schools that have sprung up in the last 10 years, but it's just not a straightforward path. You're an artist, right? You're an artist and you have to look at it that way. It's like you're an artist, you're your own business at the same time. It's kind of weird, and you have to have all this technical knowledge, so it's not straightforward. And the whole auditioning industry, auditioning for agents, for casting directors, for clients, like that's like what goes on behind there. Like, do they listen to them? Like, what makes a good audition? Like, it's just stuff that you don't really necessarily know the mechanics of, which makes it hard as an artist to know, like, what am I doing here? Right. So a lot of voice actors end up just not knowing where to start, what to do, if they're any good, what they should do next. Like it's just not a straightforward path. And I tried to the best of my ability to shine a light on the whole process to really give people a place to start and like a roadmap to help them understand. And I interviewed some industry people too to get a little bit of insight about what happens with auditions and things like that. Um, so yeah, I just tried to like lift the curtain a little bit on what goes on back there. Like what's all this about, right? Because there's a lot of books like of famous voice actors, but like what about the little guy who just wants to like get a paying gig, like narrate an audiobook or a copy of a piece of narration like that explains an explainer, right? And that explains how a product works. Like, what about that guy, right? So, or that girl, or they, or whatever. So it's you need a place to you need to know where to go and how it all works, and that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, it's a guide, right? We have value in guides and in the learning process. And you've demonstrated for us a lot of different elements that today, but that are in your books. It's not just a voice. You talk about environment, you talk about setup, you talk about technology, positions, volume, tone, just you run the whole gamut. Here's something that I'm thinking though. You have over 25 years of experience that is carefully packed into your books. It's just a wealth of knowledge. And when you're flipping through the pages, you know, they're not just words on the page. You could tell that you're speaking from that experience. When you were starting out, could your books have helped you do differently than what you have done to date? And would you? Because I know, there's a youthful element sometimes to, I know what I'm doing. I got this, right? I don't need to read the instruction manual, right? But for those folks who are listening, going, what would you say? What would you say? Would younger starting out Lily go, yeah, give me that book. I wish I had that now in retrospect.
You just hit the nail on the head. Like you just hit the nail on the head. When the first 10 years of me doing this,
Yeah.
I had the person who mentored me kind of into this. And I just thought I knew what I was doing because I was working. And I thought I knew what I was doing, and nobody else could coach me because he had coached me like 10 years ago. I just thought, like, who's going to coach me? And I just was kind of stagnant in my business, you know? And then one day I met somebody who told me about this coach, and I was like, and he was kind of a professional and he was using a coach. And I was like, why are you using a coach? Like, I don't use a coach. He's like, oh, yeah, you got to use a coach. You got to. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I got down from my pedestal there and I just, contacted this coach and actually it made me realize how much I didn't know. And it made me so much better at my job. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, totally. And it's funny because when I was writing the books, like I had to take some of my own advice so I could test it, so I could just, make sure what I was saying was still accurate and all that. And I hadn't been in acting class in some years, because I've been busy and I didn't have time. And then I just said, I'm going to drag my butt back to acting class. And I did that. And it's so crazy because immediately I started booking more work, like immediately. And I was like, wow, like this stuff works, you know? So yeah, I wish that first book, I wish somebody had given me, which is why I wrote them,
Yeah.
because it's like, if you're going to waste your time like me for 10 years, and don't get me wrong, I was doing okay, but I still kind of, if I had gotten my ducks in a row 10 years earlier, like, wow, like that'd be pretty cool. Like I
Yeah.
just kind of spun my wheels for a long time, thinking I knew what I was doing. And now I
And
listen back to those recordings and I go, oh God, you know, I could have done better. But oh
yeah,
well.
these are a real opportunity to invest in yourself. And I really like the fact that you fact checked yourself. You said, I'm gonna go and try and experience this and make sure that before I tell somebody how to tie their shoes, that indeed this is, still how I tie my own shoes, sort of thing. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Lily is offering us fact check proven books and content here. That's awesome. Look, Lily, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. You've educated us, you've entertained us, you've made us think beyond the voice. And thank you so much for that, and for your time. And so before I do let you go, is there anything that you would like to leave us with, including your preferred contact information or anything else?
So yeah, I want to leave everybody who's listening and who's interested in voice work. Um some resources, some little guides I've put together for your audience. So you can find them if you sign up to my mailing list. You just go to getcleveraboutvO.com/sign up in one word. And if you join the mailing list, you're going to get a bunch of freebies. It's going to talk about mic techniques, some performance hacks. Actually, the script analysis one is not on there because I'm preparing a program for that. So that's not on there, but there's tons of other stuff, even talking about gear. It's just full of resources. I think there's like at least 10 PDFs on there with like short and concise information. So if you want to get that, go and get that. And also, once you're on my mailing list, you're going to get exclusive tips for the working VO actor. So even if you're not doing this yet, you're going to get insight about what really goes on, which if one day you want to do this, you're going to be ahead of the game. So it's a really great place to be. And if you want to get in touch with me, it's just getcleveraboutvO.com. There's a coaching section there, and you can write to us. And even if you join the mailing list and you have questions or you want to reply back with anything, you can just hit reply back, and I'll get that email. So yeah,
That's awesome.
that's it.
I'm in. I love freebies, so I'm going to sign up. So
Great.
for sure, for sure. Look, thank you so much, Lili. Much appreciated. That is Lili Wexu, folks. And you can find her at liliwexuvoiceovers.com and getcleveraboutvo.com. She is a voiceover actor with over 25 years of experience, continuing to lend her voice to brands that find their way into your home and family experiences, and helping voice actors get creative, get critical, and get paid well. She's taken those experiences and authored a series of books that give you insights on the profession and life. I will have all of her contact info on the show notes. Thank you again, Lili. We hope to catch up with you real soon, and take care.